Okay, so welcome everyone. This is the first kind of watch party of the Human Factors Subject Matter Interest Group video series on human factors, human and organizational factor principles. Um, where this came from is last year we tried a bit of an experiment with a shorter form of essentially rather than doing a webinar, having a shorter form of video and Q&A session afterwards. Went down quite well. So this year we're going to carry that on and into next year. There'll be 5 episodes in total, and they'll all come out over the next few months. So what we'll do in a moment is we'll play the podcast video. It's about 5 to 10 minutes, and then the rest of the half hour we can use for answering any questions. And the questions can go on to anything specifically to the video, but it can also be any questions on human factors from the RM. Going into 2026, we're going to be looking at the RM, the reference manual, and giving it a significant update. So as well as questions, also happy if you put any other wants or ideas in the chat throughout the session, and we'll try our best to incorporate them and answer any questions. So thank you very much. I think we'll go on mute now and we'll play the video.
Welcome to this podcast series hosted by the AESQ Human Factors Subject Matter Interest Group. Join us as we dive into these 5 key human factors principles brought to life through real-world stories told by members of the Human Factors SMIG, and discover how these principles connect to create safer and higher quality work.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Dan Carroll from Precision Cast Parts Corporation, PCC, and I got Chris Craig here with me from Rolls-Royce. And today we want to talk to you about a case study around human factors and one of the principles around human factors. But Chris, can you tell us what topic are we going to focus in on today?
Hi, Dan. We're going to focus in on errors are normal.
Okay. So, Chris, can you kind of explain to us what are some of those errors in real life that are just we kind of witness them every day? They're part of our daily living.
So yeah, can start with some statistics. So, we work in the aerospace industry. One thing we know is 80% of aerospace accidents occur due to human error. Bringing it a bit more closer to home, let's come outside of aerospace. Just think of traffic collisions.
Sure.
Studies say about 90% of traffic collisions are attributed to driver error. And even everybody that's going to be listening to this is probably listening to it through a computer, used to the whole kind of cyber industry now at the minute. So 95% of cyber breaches are caused by human error, people clicking on things that they shouldn't be clicking on and should have noticed that potentially were dangerous. Overall, research suggests that humans make up to 3 to 5 errors per hour. So that stacks up potentially to about 50 errors over a working day. Now, the vast majority of these are going to be fairly simple things. Maybe misspelling a word, mistyping something, or misremembering something, losing your place when somebody distracts you. But every now and again, one of these errors is going to be significant potentially. And understanding that's really important, and how we design our workspaces, how we design our processes, and the products that we work on.
Exactly, Chris. And so thank you for kind of, generalizing errors where we kind of see them in life. I shouldn't do it. I know I'm guilty. Maybe I look down at my phone when I'm when I'm driving, hands-free, get that put away. So that's a general example that you were talking about. I can relate to that. But Chris, what we want to get into now is maybe like a specific story that maybe you've kind of had a hand in, that you've dealt with in the aerospace business. So can you kind of explain a more of like a specific story around manufacturing?
Yeah, so I came across this around about 10 years ago now. And in the facility that I was working in at the time, we recognized that we had an issue around part measurement. Now, this facility manufactures fairly complex products. These products have up to 400, 600 individual features on there. So all these features need measurement, need inspection.
Okay.
And part of that inspection, because there's so many of these features, we use a measurement machine to do that. So what we have is a measurement machine going around, taking the coordinates, taking the measurements for all of the features on the product. The way the process is then set up is that measurement machine will print out a report of every single feature and the dimension of every single feature that's been measured. So these reports, because you're looking upwards 400, 600 features, these
Wow.
reports are 20 pages long. So what the inspector would have to do, he would have to go down line by line, check and identify all the features that would be on specification, and then transpose those onto the inspection history, which is the manufacturing documentation that follows the product as it goes around. Once all those have been transferred, what the inspector would then do is he would sentence all of the features out of specification. So do we need to initiate rework? Do we need to initiate a concession? Do we need to do something else, scrap a component off, for example? And what we were actually finding through this process is there were a number of products that were escaping this process without having proper sentencing. So this was the inspector, as they were going through the step of transferring the information from the CMM report, the measurement report, over to the inspection history, the inspector was missing various features within there.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that could happen when you're looking through numerous pages, maybe transposition errors that could happen, kind of relying on that person. They got to be on 100% all the time for this to be effective.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we were finding was, people would flip 2 pages at once.
Yeah.
Or, they'd put the feature was at the top of the page that was non-conforming or out of specification. The hand would be over that feature, or the task was completed by different shifts. And gone. I say there was 20-page feature report that came out of the measurement machine. Sometimes there were multiple reports because of multiple stages of measurement, and these could be handled over different shifts by different people. You've also got people working on multiple parts at the same time. They go through in batches, and as well as the environment, you've got things like distractions in there as well, which are frequently known. It takes a long time to go through a whole error report, a whole measurement feature report, and capture all of those errors. And even things like the reports, because they highlight the non-conforming features in different colors, or what one format did, nobody taken into consideration color blindness. It wouldn't stand out to certain people.
Right.
So through investigation, we found all of these things that were just allowing errors to be made, allowing features to be missed when transferring onto the inspection history.
And I think this is pretty relatable. Large document, trying to look through, see what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. people make an error, trying to do their best. But so, Chris, can you kind of like, show us now, like, what did you do to correct that? Like, what happened? What did you change? What were the moments that said, hey, we got to do something better to set our people up for success?
Yeah. So when we started to think about the human in the systems, the inspectors and experience, what we realized was essentially we wanted to get rid of that manual activity where the inspector was going through the report and transferring that information onto the inspection history. So how we actually did that was, rather than from the measurement machine a report with every single feature on, including features that were conforming and non-conforming, we reconfigured the measurement machine just to give a non-conformance report. So it would only print out or only display every single feature that was out of specification. Even better than that, it would do it in a format that we just appended it straight onto the inspection history. So there was no writing involved whatsoever. And we even went so far as to say, if there are no errors, and there were products with no non-conformances on there, so you'd get a blank report that would still get appended into the manufacturing history, so it was evidence that the report was there and there was no non-conforming features. Then the inspector could do what we pay them to do. The real part of the job that's the value add is start sentencing those non-conformances, rather than having to write every single non-conformance in that inspection history.
No, I can see, I can imagine kind of going through this if I was in the inspector's position. Now, man, my life just got a lot easier going through kind of eliminating, now it's all, I don't have any transposition errors. I'm not hunting for any of the non-conformances. It's all on one sheet, and now I can go address the issues as needed. So, Chris, thank you very much kind of describing the solution. But, lastly here, kind of, what are the final thoughts here around errors are normal, this situation that you want to leave the audience with? Kind of show us what are the lessons? What does good look like here?
So there was one other thing that we uncovered during the investigation that's worth noting, which is the solution was available when these measurement machines were first put in a number of years ago. Yep. And it was the inspector's knowledge of this that alerted us to, got us very quickly to that as a solution. So there was a few really key pieces of learning from all of this. First one is around essentially recognizing that errors are normal. We didn't, when we put in as an organization, when we put in those inspection machines, measurement machines, we didn't think about the operator or the inspector's experience at that point. We didn't think about the human in the system. What could go wrong and what should we anticipate? And we should have done that, and we should do that as a matter of course.
Absolutely.
The other one is, the second one is, even throughout that time period, we didn't listen to the operators. We didn't listen to the frontline operators when they were talking about the difficulties of the job. And if we were listening to them earlier on, we could have put this solution in place a lot quicker.
Yeah, I got to say, for everybody out there, I am involved with fixing more issues and fixing more problems by getting those people who do it every day, getting them involved and up front with the how are we gonna address this issue. A lot of times they have that knowledge. They might not know exactly how to articulate it, what to do procedurally, but they're this is the problem, and I think this is how we should fix it.
Absolutely. Go on. Through my entire career, I've always been humble enough to go to the expert, which is the person that sees that process every day. They will know more than me. And it was true when I was a fresh-faced youth in the factory, and it's still true today. So Absolutely. That's always where I go to. the other key piece of learning is be wary when iterating practices. And I think you see this a lot of, in different products as they iterate up, or different processes as they evolve over time. We always look at what happened, what we did before, and then that's our starting position for, right, we'll carry on doing that going forward. And it's not until, people are driving technology, different technologies, introducing them, where we really go, actually, this can be a game changer. We'll change how we run the process. The thing I'm trying to do in my organization is start getting people to think about, okay, let's not iterate the process. What could perfection look like with no errors in there whatsoever? How can we design this process or design this workplace with the human in mind, with the person in mind? Yep. People are going to live in that. And the last one is, through doing that at the same time, is looking for those opportunities, rather than iterating practices. How's technology moved on as well? So rather than using new technology to help evolve and change processes over time, look at how we can use technology to how we support the human, the person operating that process on a day-to-day basis. So I think those were the key learnings, as well as the practical application of the kind of non-conformance reports that we got out of the measurement machine.
Yeah, Chris, thank you very much for going through this with us. And this is kind of like one of the first principles we're going over here in Human Factors, that errors are normal. Thank you for sharing this story with us. Really appreciate it, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dan.
All right, folks. It's always interesting listening to yourself played on video. Good fun to make. Like I say, this is all part of got an experiment which was running for last year, just to try and get shorter form examples and material across the industry to help you implement AS 13100 from a human factors perspective. And this was our kind of first of a series of 5 episodes on the human and organizational performance principles, which was titled, errors are normal, or error is normal. So I'm happy to say there's no questions in the chat, but if anybody has them, please feel free to ask them now. We've got a few members of the subject matter interest group online as well to help answer. As well as that, if there's no questions, if there's any feedback from this format of sharing information with you, more than happy to hear that. And as well as that, any needs or ideas for the RM going forward, because like I say, 2026 we will be looking to do an overhaul of that RM, essentially to help you deploy human factors in your organizations. Any feedback on this format? Is it, go on, let's have a straw poll of hands up or something. Does this work for you? Is it easier to digest? Does it help? We've got a few there.
Afternoon from the UK, if you can hear me. Like I say, I think for people that have not maybe seen this, or kind of, they say they're striving for perfection, I think it's a good introduction to consider that element. I mean, I've got a very similar example that's almost exactly the same, where people will miss information in the sea of information, being so data heavy. And I think it's good, like I said, having that example of an exceptions report. You might have errors in your production process, that's inherent, but you don't want the error to be the person missing that error, misclassifying that error. So it kind of rings true with something I've been looking into currently. But yeah, I do like the short form format. It's like GCSE bite size for people. No, I enjoy it.
Oh, good. We'll
so
try
by the way, sorry, Andy Turton from Speciality Steels, by the way. I forgot to say who I was.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Andy. That's appreciated. As long as we keep getting positive feedback, we'll keep going down this route, I think, especially when we come to completion of the update of the reference manual. I think what we want to try and do is get some videos recorded and then maybe keep the webinar type format for open Q&A. So you can ask a question in advance and then we can come on, answer it, and ask more questions. That seems to be kind of value add for people, I think, because not everyone can get to the big 2-hour sessions and ask their questions.
And I do like the fact that these are, will this be part of the series added to the SAE ITC YouTube channel as well?
Yes.
Yeah, because I definitely want to share this with some of my colleagues that weren't able to attend. So I think it's worth just highlighting to people that these do go on to a YouTube playlist, which makes them fully available as well.
No, that's a great point. They'll be on the YouTube playlist. They'll also be available through the AASQ website as well.
All
this
right,
is how
Chris.
we're going to make ourselves YouTube superstars.
That's terrifying. We do have a question in the chat, actually a multi-phase question in the chat, if you're ready for it.
Okay.
The question is, how to deal with operator who made the mistake if we are saying errors are normal? So how do we sensitize them to eliminate that error? And then the second half of the question is how to improve the incident reporting from the shop floors so that we can capture such instances more and more. So identifying places where these errors may be made, how do we create systems to allow for that?
That was really good two-part question. I think all I can do is answer for the approach we've taken. And in terms of the first part of that, how to sensitize them to eliminate the error, we do that through communication and we do it through training. We do it through understanding of human and organizational factors. When we say errors are normal, what we don't mean is errors are unavoidable. Errors are absolutely unavoidable. And it's getting everyone to realize, to spot them early, raise them as hazards, and we can do something about them. Or even better, from a organizational perspective, systematically look at a process and go, well, what's difficult to do in this process? Therefore, where are we going to make the errors, and how can we change the process? How can we update it? How can we amend it so that those errors don't occur? So mainly through a lot of communication, a lot of training, and lining in with that, the promotion of product safety as well. And that's one of the things that we're doing quite heavily this year and next year. And we have got to do quite heavily every year. But we're running specific sessions on product safety over and above the normal for the next year and a half. Second part of that question, so improve incident reporting from the shop floors to capture such instances. This is where, and we'll probably go into a bit more on this in the RM update, it's one of the things that we've identified that we don't have at the minute that we want to get in there, is getting the psychological safety of that part of the organization in the right place, and having people basically understand what that level of psychological safety is, so that level of trust that when something is reported, it's going to get dealt with in the appropriate manner, is known widely across the organization. So that's where we're going. And if I reflect on where I'm actually at with it, I've got three parts of my organization. Now, one part of my organization have done it really well. And they understand the concept, they're communicating lots, and they're showing high levels of psychological safety, high levels of appropriateness of dealing with issues. Through that, it's a virtuous cycle, and they're getting more and more reporting. Now, I've got two other parts of my organization which are a bit different, are at different levels of maturity in there, and they've not quite created the same level of A, psychological safety, or B, embedding in communication of the reporting tools and things like that. So the reporting levels are a lot lower. So I've definitely seen good examples of where that's done right, the communication, the psychological safety, the information, the training, and the output of that is, good levels of reporting And we're starting to have a look at that now to go, well, what proactively can we do off the bulk of the report and what we're learning from it, and not just solving individual instances.
Yeah, Chris, I was going to add to that too. I think from a different perspective, it kind of leads into the next sessions that we'll have, right? There's 5 of these factors. Errors are normal is this one, right? The next one is blame fixes nothing. And it's really a cultural shift, right? If operators feel comfortable that you're not there to find out what they did wrong, right? You're there to interrogate the process, understand how can the process be improved or error proofed so that people don't have those failure modes going forward, right? Shifting that focus and making sure your operators understand that can go a long way, because then they're more open generally to share their challenges and help fix the process going forward. So we'll talk more about that as we get into the other topics as well.
That's a great point, Sarah. Thank you.
Yeah, to build upon that, episode 4 is all about operator communication. The learning is vital. One of the things that we've started doing in my organization is asking questions that are instead of, well, where can you make a mistake here? It's, well, what's irritating about this process? What's boring? And those things will highlight where errors could possibly be made, because we're human. If something is boring, the likelihood that we get distracted increases. Or if we're frustrated or anything like that, that's going to increase the possibility that we make an error. And so how do we identify those things? We ask those specific questions.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Go on. If there's any more questions or anything that strikes you after this, you can feed those in through the AESQ website. There's an email address on there that will get to ourselves and subject matter interest group team. But on behalf of the team, thank you very much for sharing the first of these episodes with us. Hopefully you'll appreciate the next ones that come along. Thank you very much, everyone.